number to go higher. It begins to drop. What is different, though, is that during this time of backslide, there is something that we can only hope for during previous ones, a vaccine. Like 100 million Americans who are eligible for the vaccine have not gotten it. We begin this morning with our senior natural force. And has North America's lowest vaccination rate. COVID hospitalizations are 8 times higher than they were 5 weeks ago.
People are younger and sicker, and we're intubating and losing people that are my age and younger.
In 2 weeks, 1% of Louisiana's entire population has caught the virus.
We have no reason to believe in our data that we've reached the peak or that we're coming down. We have more children sick with COVID-19 than at any other time during the pandemic.
Across America, 71,000 kids tested positive in the last week of July. 1 in 5 new cases, as the Delta variant stalks the unvaccinated of all ages.
The level of sick visits that we've seen this summer, June, July, and now August, I've never seen in 20 years of practice here in Houston.
Another negative, surging positivity rates. 20 states are over 10%. More alarming, Idaho, Oklahoma, and Mississippi over 40%. 2 states, Texas and Florida, make up nearly 1/3 of America's new COVID cases. Both governors oppose universal masking as schools open.
We can either have a free society or we can have a biomedical security state. And I can tell you, Florida, we're a free state.
Free state, costly approach.
So we have basically patients everywhere in both sides of the U.S.
On Friday, the state set a daily record, nearly 24,000 new cases. Hospitalization has quadrupled in a month. Deaths have doubled. Despite the runaway spread, COVID's culture war is unrelenting. More schools open this week, more parents will square off about protecting kids.
Can't ask the kids, it's unconstitutional. And everybody knows it.
Anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers.
These folks back there, still on your yesterdays. You are the ultimate knucklehead.
We were to fight against it if we get the shot.
Urgency now drives vaccination campaigns. Right behind the Delta variant lurks the Lambda variant. More employers have a new vaccine policy. Get it or get gone, including Microsoft, Tyson Foods, and United Airlines. Here in Georgia, the number of new daily cases is at its highest level since late January, before the vaccine was widely available. Hundreds of them in Metro Atlanta, kids tested positive. Scott, we go down to the Arkansas Valley, Asa Hutchinson, who joins us from Little Rock. Good morning, everyone. Good to have you. Let's start with schools and masks before we move on to the bigger issue of vaccinations. But they're great. Schools vaccinated.
Pushing the vaccines out, but those under 12 not get vaccinated in school. So I realized that we needed to have more options for our local school district. And so I asked the legislature to redo the law. Requirements of protect the children. So it was an error to sign that law. With that, thank goodness the legislature did not act this week, which they didn't. The court stepped in and held that as unconstitutional. And now we have that local flexibility to make their decision to protect the children based upon circumstances of their district.
When you say facts change, do you see something in the last few weeks, particularly with respect to hospitals who are getting COVID. Do you see and learn more about the way this Delta variant is affecting that specific part of your community?
And part of it is that the Delta variant is so transmissible that it affects every population. The higher age group populations have been vaccinated, so we're seeing 40-year-olds in the hospital and on vents, and then it goes down. And while the children are less susceptible to it and less at risk, still a small number of children find themselves in a hospital. We've had over 24 in our children's hospital. We've had 3 adolescents die vaccinated, and so I look at that and I say that we've got to do everything we can to protect those children. Everybody else will be vaccinated, and I push that those vaccinations, we don't need other stringent measures there, because vaccine is their solution. But for those under 12, we want them to go to school, and we need to have that flexibility because they do have some risk.
I want to get to the vaccine solution and move quickly back to their school district. I think there are about 900 students and teachers in quarantine. Do you feel like that would have happened if the school district had had the freedom of local control and the ability to have a mask mandate in that school district?
Well, if we would have had more vaccines out, those numbers would have been less. But it illustrates the point that we're going to have a successful school year. School districts like Marion need to have that option to require masks for those lower grades and make the decision that's suitable for their community. But let me emphasize the point here that ordinarily you have about 2.5 contacts from one exposure that has to be quarantined. But in the school environment, it was more like 18 to 1. So that's why we had so many that were quarantined. You can't have a successful school year with that kind of exposure in the school. And so vaccines, as well as flexibility of the school district, would be the key in my judgment.
Last time you were on the program, Arkansas was 46th in the nation in terms of first vaccinations. It is now just the 38th in the nation. So it's gotten better. 60% of that is at least one shot. What accounts for that?
So this conversation that vaccination rates, but
Conversation. Say that they're going to get sick. That comes up in your conversation. What do you say?
I recognize that is needed or is persuasive. They know that they trust their community and ask them, what do you say about that? And that trusted advisor is more persuasive and fact-oriented and expel myths. The second thing that's important is the FDA has to act. We've had over 100 million Americans that are vaccinated. They're not going to come in now and say, well, that shouldn't have been approved. Dr. Fauci says there's not education, but I do expect that broader acceptance of the vaccine. I do expect that some employers and sensitive industries will require vaccines, but you have to have the FDA approval before that is more broadly accepted.
When you go around the state, which encountering with your constituents, a lot of times in this pandemic, people have said we're all in this together. But you made a statement this week where you said some politicians are playing people's fears and not being compassionate. Are we all in this together based on your experience?
Trying to get through the pandemic, but we have to have leaders that will step up and say, that's a myth, that's not supported, and you all need to do. We can't just give in to the loudest voice. The vaccine part. This, that loud says,
Governors, we go out the board here. You served as chairman of the National Governors Association with Democratic co-chairman Eccl. You see her and asked you about it. You said you're going to wait for that investigation to take place in New York. The investigation is taking place. A lot of people think you should step down. Do you have a view?
the investigation was very thorough, the allegations were serious. No. So, particularly when it's in a public environment. So he either needs to resign from this, certainly if criminal charges are filed, that circumstance, but that was a very credible review. And very serious. And, not be tolerated. So, thank you.
In an exclusive interview for CBS this morning in the Albany Times-Union, national correspondent Jerika Duncan spoke to Brittany Canisso, who's going public for the first time since she was identified as executive assistant #1. New York Attorney General's devastating report of sexual harassment charges against Governor Andrew Cuomo. In that report, Canisso said she was groped and sexually harassed by the governor, and on Friday filed a criminal complaint against him with the Albany Sheriff's Office. So is one of 11 men accusing the governor of sexual misconduct. The state assembly is expected to finish an impeachment inquiry later this week. Cuomo denies the allegations and says he will not step down.
Why did you file that? And just so I'm clear, then, being done.
You can see more about Jerika tomorrow on CBS. Travel the world and feud competition like no other.
Ow.
And blow.
Who's that fix?
Back to city.
I get it.
If you win, you'll take your destination vacation in any of tonight's cities.
Everywhere.
Discovery Plus.
My 310, no extra sight, migraine medicine. It's Ubrelvy. For any time, anywhere migraine strikes, without worrying if it's too late or where I am. One dose can quickly stop my migraine in its tracks within 2 hours. Unlike older medicines, Ubrelvy is a pill that directly blocks CGRP protein, believed to be a cause of migraine, not paper things. Ubrelvy, anytime, anywhere.
Education Secretary Bill Cardona. He joins us from Meriden, Connecticut. Good morning, Mr. Secretary. I want to jump right in. The governors of Texas and Florida have enacted measures to forbid mask mandates. You said you were going to talk to them. Have you talked to them? Or if you haven't, when you do, what will you say?
Good morning, John. Yes, we are ready. 50 million students across the country are ready to return to school in person. We owe it to our students to safely reopen schools and make sure they have the best opportunity for learning, which we know as educators is in person. And yes, it's an all hands on deck effort. I have called out to many governors, including Governor Hutchinson, we just heard from. And I did talk to Governor Abbott and I spoke to the commissioner in Florida. We need to work together to make sure our schools are safe for all students and for our staff.
You making any progress in those phone calls?
I think what we're seeing across the country, we recognize the importance of vaccinations, and the president put a charge on all of us. Let's get our vaccination pop-up clinics set up in our schools where students feel comfortable going to get it. And I think everyone across the country agrees on that. I believe strongly that we need to do everything, including our mitigation strategies, to make sure our students are safe. The data is showing us that in places where they're not following those mitigation strategies, we're putting students at risk.
You said in a briefing this week that governors in those states of Texas and Florida are putting politics, they're letting politics interfere. Do you see no merit, though, to their argument that basically the school experience is impinged by wearing a mask?
I understand the fatigue of wearing masks. I don't like wearing masks. I know my own children don't want to wear masks. They are vaccinated, but we also understand that this is bigger than us. We're trying to keep infection rates low. And I think it's more dangerous for students to be home and have interrupted learning because of the decisions that we're making. We're clearly at a fork in the road in this country. You're either going to help students be in school in person and keep them safe, or the decisions you make are going to hurt students. That's where we are right now. And while I understand the argument around not wanting to wear masks because of fatigue, without question, student safety and staff safety come first.
And your argument, as I take it, is that if you don't allow some flexibility, or if you don't have masks in schools, you're going to see interruptions. In a quarter of the country in which there are these blockages on mask mandates, do you expect in that quarter of the country you could have schooling actually fully interrupted?
I do believe that. I mean, the segment before, 18 students in a classroom had to be quarantined because masks weren't being used and perhaps they were in close contact. We've done this before. Last year, we spent a whole year trying to safely reopen schools. This year, we have the benefit of the return to school roadmap that provides tips for families and for schools. The benefit of the American Rescue Plan, where resources are there to make sure our schools are safe. And then the vaccination efforts that are underway. We know what works. We've seen it work. We just have to follow the guidance from CDC and let our educators and education leaders lead. They know what to do to keep our schools safe. Let's give them the opportunity to do what's right.
Let me get your insight on on the cost of the pandemic on schooling. Our time had an analysis they did with Stanford University that showed that in 33 states, 10,000 local public schools lost at least 20% of their kindergartners. First of all, can you assess the gravity of that figure? And secondly, what are we going to do about it?
I saw that in my experience last year in Connecticut as we reopened schools. We saw also that our kindergarten numbers were very low. Half of the number of students that didn't return to school were 3, 4, and 5 years. That tells us that we must double down as educators to reach out to those families and share with them what we're doing to keep their children safe. You know, as I said before, as a parent, nothing is more important to me than the safety of my children. And I think our role now as educators is to communicate that schools are safe places. We know early childhood education is critically important to the success of our students. So having our students come into the classroom where they learn by doing, learning social and emotional skills by doing as 3, 4, 5-year-olds is critically important. It's our job now to help parents feel comfortable with what we're doing to keep their children safe.
One of the ways the parents can feel comfortable is increasing the vaccination rates, as you mentioned, particularly with teachers. What is your position on teachers' mandatory vaccination among teachers in school?
Sure. Well, we're promoting the week of action where we're really getting the message across the country to get vaccinated when you're eligible. We're having pop-up clinics in schools, and just tomorrow I'm going to be in Kansas with the second gentleman promoting some of the vaccine efforts underway there. And for the educators, I feel strongly that if you're eligible to get vaccinated, do your part to make sure that we're all safe and that we can reopen schools without interruption. Again, our students have suffered enough. It's time for all of us to do our part to keep our students and staff safe. Students need to be in the classroom. That's what they learn best.
Teachers Union Representative Randy Weingarten on NBC suggested that teachers should get vaccinated. How helpful will that be in that cause?
It's helpful, and quite frankly, I think we recognize as educators across the country that we're gonna get farther if we work together, and that's what we're seeing across the country. Educators who have bent over backwards for our students this last year are coming together to say, let's do our part. We know they are lining up to get vaccinated. 90% of the teachers across the country have gotten vaccinated. We're proud of that. We want to keep the efforts going. We want our youth to get vaccinated. Listen, and to those who are making policies that are preventing this, don't be the reason why schools are interrupted, why children can't go to extracurricular activities, why games are canceled. We need to do our part as leaders, like Governor Hutchinson is doing, to make sure that they have access to the decisions that they need to make to get their students safely back in school.
All right, Secretary Cardona, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. And we'll be right back with a lot more Face the Nation. Stay with us.
Is now a good time for a flare-up?
Enough, Crohn's.
For adults with moderate to severe Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, Stelara can provide relief and is the only approved medication to reduce inflammation on and below the surface of the intestine in UC.
You getting on that flight back up, TC?
Stelara may increase the risk of infection, some serious, and cancer. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, sores, new skin growths, have had cancer, or if you need a vaccine. PRAS, a rare potentially fatal brain condition, may be possible. Some serious allergic reactions and lung inflammation can occur.
Lasting remission can start with Stelara. If you've been financially impacted by COVID-19, Janssen may be able to help.
This is the gap that opened up when everything shut down. But entrepreneurs never stopped and found solutions that kept them going. At US Bank, we can help you adapt and evolve your business, no matter what you're facing. Because when you close the gap, a world of possibility opens. US Bank, we'll get there together.
Joint pain, swelling, tenderness.
Mine's psoriasis. Cosentyx works on all of this.
Sticks can help you look and feel better by treating the symptoms of psoriatic arthritis. Don't use it if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. It can increase risk of infections, some serious. Lower the risk of fire. Tell your doctor about an infection or symptoms or if you have a vaccine or plans. Tell your doctor if your Crohn's disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions may occur. Get real relief with Cosentyx.
Lactate is 100% real milk, just without the lactose, so you can enjoy it even if you're sensitive to dairy. So anyone who says lactate isn't real milk is also saying Mabel here isn't a real cow, and she really hates that.
If you're not able to watch the full Face the Nation, you can set your DVR, or we're available on demand. Plus, you can watch us through our CBS or Paramount Plus app.
No one likes to choose between safe or sporty, modern or reliable. We want both. We want to go to banks. That's why they're going hybrid with IBM. A hybrid cloud approach helps them personalize experiences with Watson AI while helping keep data secure. From banking to manufacturing, businesses are going with a smarter hybrid cloud using the tools, platform, and expertise of IBM.
Truthfully, it's frustrating to see how fast dust reappears.
But dusting with a cloth is a pain.
And dealing with a bulky vacuum is such a hassle. Ugh. So now we use our Swiffer Sweeper
And dusters. The fluffy fibers, they pick up dust easily, grabbing it in all those hard to reach places. Gotcha.
And for our floors, Sweeper's textured cloths lock all kinds of dirt, dust, and pet hair. Unlike my vacuum, it sneaks under and around places. Look at that.
Dust-free and hassle-free.
Stop cleaning and start Swiffering.
If you have postmenopausal osteoporosis and a high risk for fracture, now might not be the best time to ask yourself, am I bone strong? Life's full of make or break moments. That's why it's so important to help reduce your risk of fracture with Prolia. Only Prolia is proven to help strengthen and protect bones from fracture with one shot.
Blood calcium are pregnant, are allergic to it, or take Xgeva. Serious allergic reactions like low blood pressure, trouble breathing, throat tightness, face liver, which gives them highs have happened. Tell your doctor about dental problems, as severe jaw-bone problems may happen, or new or unusual pain in your hip or your thigh, as unusual thigh bone fractures of the third. Speak to your doctor before stopping, sticking with the wound filler, as spine and other bone fractures. Hernia can cause serious side effects, like low blood calcium, serious infections, which could need hospitalization, skin problems, and severe bone, joint, or muscle pain.
Don't wait for a break. Call your doctor now and ask if Eccl can help you.
We'll be right back with Miami-Dade County Public School Superintendent Alberto Carvalho, former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb, and author Amanda Rickley. Stay with us.
She's accused New York Governor Andrew Cuomo of sexual harassment, but hasn't revealed her name until now. Our exclusive interview tomorrow on CBS This Morning. Gail Kim, Anthony Mason, and Tom DeCoppel, weekday mornings on CBS.
Did you know trading in your car at a dealer could cost you money? A recent study found consumers who trade in their car pay an average of $990 more. So don't trade it, sell it to We Buy Any Car. Learn more and get your free online valuation now at WeBuyAnyCar.com. Find out how much your car's worth at We Buy Any Car.
You just want to meet your new niece.
Here she is.
But if slow upload speeds were to freeze your face and you accidentally snub a newborn,
Nothing's ever good enough for you.
just remember, you're not a bad sister. You just need better internet.
AT&T Activate is a faster internet experience with 25 times faster. Starting $35 a month for a year. Limited availability and select areas. Call 1-877 only AT&T.
Traffic and sports, right in the palm of your hand. The CBS 17 News Hour. Install it today. CBS 17 This Morning. Weekdays, starting at 4:30.
The Miami-Dade County Public School System is the fourth largest in the country. It starts there in 2 weeks. Superintendent Alberto Carvalho of Miami. The superintendent, he said with the governor, he signed an executive order banning mask mandates in schools. You have 334,000 students. Governor threatened funding to your school system if there is a mask mandate. How are you weighing the governor's order and the health of your students?
Good morning, John. Good morning. We have been a school system that's been guided by science all along. We've navigated this awful pandemic with the expert advice of public health and medical experts, and we're not going to advocate this position. We'll continue to be a district that's oriented by the expert advice of professionals. It's sad that in America we see this rhetorical narrative that's deeply influenced by politics rather than the medicine and the wise advice of those who know best what's in the best interest of our students and the professionals who teach it. So look, we are in a privileged position in Florida. We have common multi-school systems in Florida open tomorrow. We have 2 additional weeks to continue to negotiate, as Secretary Carvalho indicated, applicable, reasonable solutions that achieve 2 things. Number one, the appropriate protocols for safe reopening schools without compromising the health insurances for our students and our teachers, while simultaneously avoiding these punitive defunding strategies that could be a consequence in defiance of the executive order or the emergency rules that were followed after the publication of the executive order by the Department of Health and Education.
When do you think you'll have to make a call?
We hope to make the call immediately after our last meeting with the health task force that was convened by the school system over a year ago, which includes individuals like U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, Dr. Eileen Martin. These are experts in the field who have advised our school system and will continue to advise Miami-Dade County Public Schools.
The governor says that there is the science, but then there is also the mental health of the children, which he says will be significantly affected by wearing masks. How do you, as someone who has been in education, at the level you have, how do you evaluate that assessment about masks and
I think it's a fair comment that we should have a balanced set of protocols and safeguards that, number one, ensure the health and well-being, protective and perspective of our students and employees, side by side, obviously, with the psychological impacts that we hope to protect on our students. And I think we are poised to be able to do that with technologies that we have in place, with much improved contact tracing protocols, much improved quarantine rules in place. We believe we can do this without, in a deleterious way, impacting the well-being, psychological, mental well-being of students, but also while protecting the health and well-being in the school environment. Look, I am one who is driven by parental choice. We have 75% of our students enrolled in non-traditional programs in Miami-Dade. We are one of the highest performing urban school systems in the country. And we hope to be able to negotiate a reopening of schools with protocols that, number one, provide protection for our students with masks, while simultaneously avoiding financial consequences, perhaps allowing some degree of parental opt-out provisions.
You, as I understand it, were a part of a school district-wide campaign to talk to households where they were reluctant about coming back to school. You apparently had a pretty good track record. Talked to 30 families, got 23 to agree to come back. Can you tell us what those conversations were like?
Absolutely, John. Look, I think across the country we've been extremely concerned for a long time over the unfinished learning that we observed in every single state associated with the pandemic and the social isolation. We were able to early on, based on early assessments, determine that there were communities of students, particularly English language learners, fragile students who lived in poverty, and students with disabilities, who were regressing in a very aggressive way. We identified those students, we called the parents, and the parents, quite frankly, were making decisions driven by two factors. One, work circumstances that put them in the position of keeping their kids at home, often older kids supervising younger kids, which was heartbreaking. Secondly, making decisions on the basis of underlying conditions faced by the parents themselves as a relative of the child. We provided assurance to the parents, and we were able to return to the schoolhouse thousands of students who are absolutely better served in a physical environment with a caring professional in front of them, rather than distance learning through virtual means.
You grew up in Portugal in what you described as pretty dramatic poverty. You have these conversations and look at your community and what has been lost during the period of COVID. Can you give me your assessment of those, the poorest who have schooling as their route to possible opportunity in America, what the damage has been in that community?
We know, John, that the greatest equalizer in our democratic country is the power of public education, where 90% of our children are educated. And that is, so true, particularly when you reference children in poverty, who make up 75% of our student population in Miami-Dade. And we know that schools offer that ramp of opportunity, that ramp of hope for these kids. That is why all of our efforts are geared towards welcoming every one of our children back into a physical school reality come August 23rd, with acceleration towards full potential for all kids, with longer school days, with summer school opportunities that we built this year, serving 5,000 students, providing additional coaches and interventionists, additional mental health professionals to, quite frankly, provide a holistic approach that will address the unfinished learning that thousands of kids across America have. And that's why I tell you, we have to pay less attention to the loud voices that are often disconnected and focus our attention on students, teachers, and health.
Thank you so much for being with us. Good luck with your decision. FDA Commissioner, Dr.
100% real milk, just without the lactose. You can enjoy it even if you're sensitive to dairy. That's lactate is a real milk. So it's saying maple here is a real cow.
Isn't that a good time? It's the large fiber leaf. It's the only medication for reduce the inflammation of something you see. Lasting remission started tomorrow. COVID-19, Janssen BBA's help.
It certainly did work. I think you can start to see improvements, particularly in the south. There's evidence that the rate of growth cases in the south is starting to decline. This week, you may see some of the states within the outbreak states start to move over in terms of showing less cases on a daily basis. The rate of expansion here is moving slowly. It's Florida, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri. But at the same time, we now see the virus spreading to northern states, like cases are being in states like Illinois, Indiana, North Carolina. So this is an epidemic that's been spreading across the nation at different points in time. I think the northern states are basically the hottest spreading sources now, but they're not completely. Those states, and the challenge right now is that the infection is going to start to fly with the opening of school. I've seen that schools saw that with people 1.7 states like Michigan and Massachusetts. Delta is far more transmissible than people 1.7. So that creates a lot of risk that the spread in northern states is going to start flying with the opening of school.
So let's update our thinking here about schools. We saw it before even you saw spread in schools. Now there's more transmissible variants. We'd like to see more. DeSantis in Florida said that schools
more safe to take the proper steps. The same outcome that we saw earlier. Largely large outbreaks in schools. Change what we do in terms of communication, how we approach the schools. We're going to withdraw masks. We're not going to engage in testing. We're not going to be finding students. We're not going to be tested by classes. We expect a different result. Confidential school year. Given the fact that we're dealing with strain, we don't fully understand the strain is clearly more transmissible, but harder to control in these settings. And it needs to be more pathogenic. Kids are getting sick with it. No one forgets the entire state of Georgia. A lot of kids right now. Business would be back to possible. That's what we're going to be doing. We need to get to the school year really improve.
in keeping that in mind, that humility and schools, we've talked a great deal about masks. What else should schools be doing to stay on top of this new variant in this time?
You talk about their elementary school. Not mandating that. They didn't go to the- depending on what local circumstances. That's the group step that we should be doing. You know, the schools we do is operationalizing testing on a regular basis. A lot of money, federal money has been flowing into the states for testing machines. That a lot of states have a hard time staying up. It's not done quite well. Testing all students. Their state created their own lab. North Carolina, Maryland, Massachusetts, a lot of testing in the states. In New York City, they do live testing with all students outside of the University of Connecticut. So a lot of states are going to be doing testing. There's still a lot of things that won't get it, and that's a very good step. And that's very important. Keeping kids in find some times. And if you have a case, you don't have to quarantine the entire school. Right now, former Surgeon General Rachel Rome Adams pointed out that many schools require parents to report at life, but don't require a report that kids have COVID. We need to turn that around. We need to still be vigilant getting into this. Stand by parents. What they can do is check rules and prevalence, trying to get high quality masks. If prevalence is high, sending kids to school with masks. And monitoring symptoms and maybe do home testing as well. And avoiding unnecessary congregate settings. So if you could avoid activities there. Try to do that. This is going to be a short list. Wait for the text. It might be out there.
Let me ask you now, for parents who consider getting their kids vaccinated to be over 12 years old. A lot of parents have expressed nervousness in this regard. What would your advice be to a parent who's weighing that decision about getting their child vaccinated?
Vaccination rates are still low among kids. In the 12 to 15, about 30% of women vaccinated. In the 16 to 17 age group, about 40%. Now's the time if you're going to vaccinate your child in advance of the school year to do it. I think for most parents, you should talk to your doctor. Right, the decision between do I vaccinate or don't I vaccinate. There's different strategies. The doctors might recommend different children how to vaccinate kids. Some doctors I know are telling parents they should go with one dose for now. Lower risk kids. Some doctors spacing it apart. Pediatricians are making judgment calls on how they approach this. So I think parents who are going comfortable often get this vaccine position or some sort of reach up with position and see if there's a way to handle or approach that any concerns that they may have.
The FDA is now, or the administration is now moving to your position on boosters, which is that it should be, there should be boosters being compromised. We also think about nursing homes in this context. Can you tell us, given that there are going to be boosters coming, are they going to come in slow? What's your sense of when somebody who needs a booster might be able to actually get it?
Yes, so the reporting is that the FDA is making a decision on the patients within the week, and maybe they would decision on older patients with the age of 65, maybe as early as September. I think unfortunately it's going to come a little bit too late for this Delta wave, because by the time you actually make that decision, then the CDC issues recommendations, then you start operationalizing the booster campaign. You're talking about maybe late October, as the decision comes in September, then we'll start really getting a sizable number of people who's going to take time to get that stood up and get people into the doctor. It's going to take a couple of weeks for the immunity that the booster offers to mature. So it's something that we should be considering, I think, right now, with immunocompromised patients, not just people with pre-existing health conditions, but also people in congregate things like nursing homes, long-term parents, like who are vulnerable.
All right, Dr. Gottlieb, thank you. As always, we'll be back in a moment.
She's accused New York Governor Andrew Cuomo of sexual harassment, but hasn't revealed her name until now.
I am more than executive assistant.
Our exclusive interview tomorrow on CBS This Morning on CBS. Gail King, Anthony Mason, and Tony DeCola. Weekend mornings on CBS.
That's what it is when you're at the grill. And they love it. And when it comes to beef, there's nothing like fresh prime beef. That's why the Butcher's Market at Harris Teeter is your go-to place for the very best prime beef. From fresh steaks and burgers to grilling tips, we've got you covered. You're the boss of the backyard grill. You keep it fresh all summer long with Harris Teeter. Sometimes, to get the best look at severe weather, you have to be out in it. And with CBS 17 Storm Team Weather Base and an experienced weather team, we've got you covered. CBS 17 Storm Team Weather Base, powered by Central Carolina Chili Dealers.
Anyone can put a roof on your home, but when you choose Carpet Roofing and Remodeling to replace your roof, no one will ever know we were here. Most jobs are completed in under 2 days, and with the Carpet Roofing Guarantee, we not only provide superior construction at a fair price and stand behind our lifetime warranty, we'll ensure there is no debris or damage left behind. Call Carpet Roofing and Remodeling today for your free roof inspection and get 15% off premium gutters with your new roof.
First warning. And through the storm, when the tropics heat up, the CBS 17 storm teams got your back. This hurricane season, stay tuned to CBS 17, where local weather matters.
From politics to policy, it seems a lot of debates these days have become filled with toxicity and outrage, to the point where we are no longer listening to each other. Amanda Ripley is the author of High Conflict, Why We Get Trapped and How We Can Get Out. Has some ideas on how we can transform dissension in this country. Tall order, Amanda, but we're going to start with defining our terms. What does high conflict mean?
So high conflict can start small, but it becomes an all-consuming us versus them feud that sort of takes on a life of its own. So it doesn't operate according to the normal rules of conflict. Anything, any counter, any intuitive thing you do in high conflict usually will backfire. Right? So it's important to understand that in high conflict, we all make a lot of mistakes. We're making them right now, as you can see, in all kinds of ways, right? So in high conflict, people behave differently. We tend to get really certain of our own moral superiority, and we make a lot of mistakes about the other side. So the key thing to understand is that we have to do the counterintuitive thing, and we have to do it with great care.
The counterintuitive thing being basically being more empathetic about the other side, just as your high conflict instincts are telling you that you want to bury the other side in the deep shale.
Exactly. I mean, there's a few things you want to not do, right? That your body wants to do. So a few of those are sort of the tripwires that tend to lead to high conflict. It's important to understand. One of those is humiliation. Don't humiliate your opponents, whether you intend to or not. Humiliation is the nuclear bomb of the emotions, as the psychologist Eccl puts it, and you will do yourself a great disservice, right? So calling names, that sort of thing. Nelson Mandela has a great quote where he says, "There's no one more dangerous than one who has been humiliated, even when you do so rightly." So I love the end of that quote. Also, you want to distance yourself to the degree possible from conflict entrepreneurs. These are people or pundits or platforms that intentionally exploit conflict for their own ends.
So bad faith actors, essentially.
Yeah, people who really delight in every twist and turn of the conflict. And right now we tend to amplify those voices, right, on social media and other places. And if you can't distance yourself from the conflict entrepreneurs in your life, you want to try to redirect their energy to the degree possible on something more constructive.
And you actually studied the kind of structural nature of these high conflicts. So anybody who's listening can think of mask debates, vaccine debates, debates over things that are done and settled, like who won the last election. We all know that President Biden did, and yet there are virulent debates about a fantasy world in which he didn't. So everything I just said probably infuriated some number of people. So you studied the structural parts of this. Give me a little bit more about how we unwind from those structural forces.
Yeah, so it turns out that how we behave in political high conflict is not different from how we behave in high conflict divorces, right? For other kinds of high conflict all over the world. You know, I followed people who were really stuck in conflict, whether they were politicians or gang members or even guerrilla fighters in civil wars, and it's always the same behavior. It's not about the facts. It's not about the original cause of the dispute. What starts to happen in every high conflict is we have a lot of the wrong fights with the wrong people, and we don't have the fights we most need to have, right? So every high conflict has the thing it seems to be about, vaccines, masks, et cetera, right? And then the thing it's really about, which is the understory of the conflict, which usually, not always, is about fear, humiliation, a need to belong and to matter, right? So those are the things you want to try to get to if you're going to make any progress, so that you can have the right fight. Because the truth is, we need good conflict in this country, right? Like there are a lot of fights that we need to have, but we need to have them in a way that they don't destroy us, right?
Right, founded the country on the idea of if we have good conflict, it will keep us from going into the streets and having actual fisticuffs.
Right, we need to channel that. I mean, people need to push each other and defend themselves and be pushed and be challenged, right? That's how you get rid.
So in the toolkit to try to avoid high conflict, and the reason we want to do that is to create collective solutions. The first thing to do is think about what is this high conflict really about?
Exactly.
And again, just to be clear, you're not talking about debate and argument. You're talking about a new level, which is just so. In that new level, you want to figure out what the debate is about, and then what's next in the things I would try to practice.
So another thing you would want to do is resist the binary, resist the urge to divide the world cleanly into two camps. That is not possible. It is very tempting, right? But don't do it. You just catch yourself doing it, because what happens is we make a lot of mistakes. We miss big opportunities when we do that, right? And so you cannot divide, you cannot put 75 million people in this country who all call themselves Republicans or Democrats in one bucket. That's just madness, right? We are all many things. Try to speak to another identity outside of the conflict, right? As a New Yorker or a Californian or a Floridian or a parent is a very good one, because you see, and we saw this on your show today, in every high conflict, it is always kids who suffer the worst of it, right? Everyone suffers in high conflict, but kids suffer the worst. So speaking to people's alternate identities outside of the conflict is a very powerful maneuver.
You talk to academics who study conflict, and keying on your idea about binary decisions, complexity. When people recognize the complexity of things, that helps them get out of their binary instincts. Is that right?
Right. So in a time of high conflict, we all get oversimplified, right, in our perception of the world. So the more you can amplify and surface real complexity, right, real complexity of human, the more people become open to information they didn't want to hear. What you're trying to do is revive curiosity in a time of false simplicity, right? And once you do that, you start to see people's whole expression changes. They start to say more nuanced things. They admit to more internal doubt and uncertainty.
Yeah, Ripley, thank you so much. Hopefully we'll get towards the solution, and we'll be right back.
It's my 5:52, woke up like this, migraine medicine. It's Eccl for any time, anywhere migraine strikes, without worrying if it's too late or where I am. One dose can quickly stop my migraine in its tracks within 2 hours.
Unlike older medicines, Eccl is a pill that directly blocks CGRP protein, believed to be a cause of migraine. Do not take withdrawing CYP3A4 inhibitors. Most common side effects were nausea and tiredness.
Ask about Eccl for any time, anywhere migraine medicine.
I've been telling everyone, the secret to great teeth is having healthy gums. Crest Advanced Gum Restore detoxifies below the gum line and restores by helping heal gums in as little as 7 days. Crest, the #1 toothpaste brand in America.
This isn't just a walk on the stairs. You have that irregular heartbeat. It's wrong. It's big. Freedom to go where you want, knowing you're got there and watch over your heart.
There's new with Jennifer Hudson and Stephen King this week on CBS.
When it comes to local news,
Our coverage of local news that matters continues for you right now.
there's no competition.
An ongoing story you only see on CBS 17.
CBS 17 News is your winning team,
CBS 17 has investigated.
asking tough questions, getting you answers, holding people accountable.
This is a story that we've been telling you about.
We take the goal.
It's a story CBS 17 has been on top of.
This is CBS 17 News, the home of local news that matters.
My parents are farmers, and I may not be helping out on the farm anymore, but I still like to pitch in. So I shop local produce at Food Lion. Every time I buy something grown around here, I'm helping farm families in my community, like my own. This is for you, Dad. It's way easier than growing it all. I kind of miss it.
That's our girl.
Grab a little local goodness at Food Lion. It goes a long way to supporting our local farmers, because this is our home, and that's our Food Lion.
That's it for us today. And today also marks the end of my summer stint in Margaret's chair. Thanks to all of you viewers out there for your trust, and to the extraordinary Face the Nation team who make this show what it is. Margaret will be back from maternity leave soon, and I'll be back soon enough, just in a different chair. For Face the Nation, I'm John Dickerson.
Inside America's crippling medical debt and why some states are harder hit than others. Tomorrow on the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell.
CBS News, 60 Minutes, Sunday on CBS. It was one of the worst environmental disasters in North Carolina history. And Duke Energy